Hi, welcome to AmateurLogic.TV, episode 47. I'm George.
I'm Tommy.
I'm Peter.
And it's good to be back with you again. This is our last show before the contest, isn't it, Tommy?
Yeah, it is.
We'll be telling you a little bit more about that a little later in the show here. You see the gear that we're giving away if you haven't already. We'll give you a little update on that, though. And Peter, how are things down under?
Things are very well there, George. Been having a good time. Been building an antenna. Things are going well.
Well, that's good. And I don't guess you're looking forward to Thanksgiving.
No, it's not celebrated here in Australia. But I did notice just quietly in the last few weeks that Halloween is actually being celebrated more and more here. And it's quite funny because a few local people have been saying, look, they don't believe in it. It's an American tradition, yada, yada, yada. And I actually looked it up, and it's actually from the British Isles. So it's actually not even originally American.
Wow, didn't even know that. Well, Tommy, let's get started here.
Okay. I've got an email here let's get started with from my friend Larry, WA5TNR. And Larry's talking about, you remember a while back they were asking about using Loctite. Well, Larry came back with another solution. He says an alternative instead of using blue Loctite is to use a plastic bag of any type, like a grocery type bag. Dart players have been plagued with the tail shaft coming off or coming loose from the body of the dart. And just kind of to summarize, they come up with a solution to cover the female part of the threads with a piece of plastic and screw the male part down. And it takes up some slack and makes it a lot tighter.
Okay.
But anyway, that's an interesting solution. I'm not sure it would be quite as substantial as Loctite, but probably give it some extra.
Well, I guess it'd be similar to using Teflon tape on something.
Yeah.
It'll make it unscrew easier later when you try to get it apart. And of course, on an antenna, that would probably work fine. But if it's something that needs a connection, I guess you got the possibility that you could be putting an insulator in there. But it would probably break through the plastic in some spots.
It's an interesting concept. It's similar to some things we've done, like if you have a wood screw wallered out, then you can put toothpicks in there.
Yeah,
fill in.
That's a good trick. I've used that before.
Yeah, appreciate that, Larry.
Yeah. Well, I have an email here, and this one comes from our friend Ray, KB8ILD. And he says, George, since you've been building things for years, I have a question about crystals. While looking at crystals for some homebrew SDR projects, I noticed that some have 2 leads and some have 4 leads. Can you give me an explanation of what the difference is? Well, sure, Raymond. The differences are that a crystal only has 2 leads on it, and it's due to its natural properties. It's always sitting there vibrating. So there'll always be the frequency of the crystal present at those 2 pins. On the 4-pin ones, though, those are clock oscillators. And while they do the same thing as a crystal, they're not exactly the same. You have to put power to these before anything comes out of them. And I'm not sure of the exact circuits in them, if in fact there is a crystal and then maybe a little amplifier behind it, or exactly what they're using inside of there. But that's the difference. The one with 4 pins are clock oscillators. Those are active components. And the crystal itself is only 2 leads. Peter, what have you got for us?
Yes, I've got a Facebook comment here, George. And it's from Ed, KT6F. And he mentions, you might have heard the SI570, which I believe was used in the Sofrock kit that you're building at the moment there, George. And he's saying, look, there's a controller and frequency generator kit available that uses the same chip, and it exhibits excellent stability and accuracy. So that's something worth checking out.
Yeah, those are very good frequency generators there, or oscillators, which is more or less very similar to what we were just talking about. I've used them in a couple of different kits, and I know some people who've used them on some old HF rigs that had some frequency stability problems with the oscillators. They'd build an external oscillator out of this little chip. Well, it's not that big. It's more like that. But, and, use that in place of the built-in oscillator, and then, it's just rock solid as a new rig. And it's a nice little chip. It's programmable. And, well, what else can I say about it? Everybody's using them these days. You can probably find hundreds of kits out there that use that. So it's a very handy thing to have in your tool bag, or your parts bin, more likely. Well, Peter, you've been doing a little construction down there, haven't you?
Indeed, George. For quite a number of years, I've actually relied on wire antennas, and generally either a 40 metre or an 80 metre wire dipole. But I became aware in recent times that, in fact, if your dipole was too close to ground, in fact, you would, to use a technical term, shmush the signal. In other words, your signal would bounce against the ground and go straight up. So I thought, well, maybe I'd be better off actually building a vertical. And seeing as I had a metal carport roof, that's what I decided to do. Hello, everyone. This month, we're going to have a look at an antenna that I've just built. It's a quarter wave antenna. Now, with a dipole, you basically have two ends which are each 1/4 wavelength long. In a quarter wave antenna, one piece which is vertical is a 1/4 wavelength long, and you have a series of radials extending out in all directions which are each a 1/4 wavelength long also. And that's kind of like the other half of the dipole. Now, what I've done though is I've actually got a flat metal carport roof, about 5 metres by 4 metres, and that can actually substitute for all those ground radials. So that's what I'm going to build today, quarter wave vertical with using the carport roof as the ground plane. Okay, here's the finished antenna. I've got two pieces of aluminium tubing, each 3 metres long. This piece is 16 millimetres thick, this piece is 12 millimetres thick, and I've put this piece inside the other, so that this piece is 3 metres long, and this piece again is 3 metres long, but 2 metres is from the end of the antenna to here, and there's 1 metre of this tubing inside the other piece of tubing. So the total length is 5 metres. I've then affixed the two tubes together with a couple of screws, so they're electrically connected. Up this end, I've got a piece of wood about 1 metre long, and I bought some copper straps which come in a horseshoe shape. And what I've done is I've folded those over and with some screws into the wood to hold that in place. Down here, I've also got a little screw which I'm going to attach a piece of wire to, and that's going to run to my ugly balun. Okay, here's the antenna set up, all finished and ready to go. First up, we've got our ugly balun, which you would have seen in the previous episode. So we've got our coax coming into the ugly balun. And then the two terminals at the top here, one of them is connected to the metal of the carport, which is about 5 metres by 4 metres. And then the other terminal is connected over here to the base of the antenna. I've gone up a little bit. It probably should be right down the end here, but that probably won't make much difference at the end of the day. So let's just look up. There's the antenna going right up. So how well will it do? Let's see. Well, my antenna's been up for 2 weeks now, and you're probably wondering, how well does it work? Does it work as well as those big Yagi antennas with multiple elements? Well, the answer is no. It'll never work quite as well as that, but it does work surprisingly well. You must remember this is a resonant antenna, so it's quite efficient. Here are the countries that I've been able to contact using voice, PSK31, and in one case a WSPR contact. I've been able to contact the Czech Republic, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Madeira Island off the coast of Portugal, New Caledonia, the Philippines, the United Kingdom, and of course the USA. And in case you're wondering how I got those QSL cards back within such a short period of time, I used eQSL. So for less than $30, I built an antenna that can literally work the world, and you can too.
Well, that's a nice project, Peter. And, I'm thinking of building something just like that here for 30 meters if I can come up with enough tubing to reach that height. I need one to put on that open beacon kit that I built recently. And I noticed a couple of Australian terms in there. The aluminium, is that how you say it?
Yeah, aluminium. I think you say aluminium or some strange
Aluminum.
something like that over there.
Yeah, aluminum, something strange. Yeah, and then the other technical term, smoosh.
Smoosh. Oh no, that's actually a Gordo term.
You're right.
Yeah, it's to smoosh the antenna is to have it a horizontal dipole is to have it too close to ground so that the signal bounces straight up.
So that's a California term then.
California term, yes.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that's funny.
Well, it's time to talk about our contest here. And, we announced it 2 or 3 shows back, and this is going to be the last show before we actually do the drawing. And you certainly want to get your name in the hat on this one. Tommy, what are we giving away?
Man, we're giving away an Icom IC-7200 HF radio right here.
That's a nice looking rig.
It is. Great radio.
You certainly want to get in on that because it really is a nice looking rig. I've used it before. Tommy has virtually used it over the internet, and boy, it did a great job. We've also got an MFJ 4230 MV power supply. Where is that?
It's right over here.
Right over there. That's a 30 amp switching supply, and the thing is really small.
Yeah, I like that. It doesn't take much space.
And right below that, what have we got?
We've got an MFJ 925 auto tuner. Hit the button on the front of it, tunes up right for you. Very nice little tuner.
Yeah, we got the cable that goes from the tuner to the HF rig there so that it all works together completely. You just hit a button on the front of the rig and it tunes the tuner for you. We're going to have some antennas as well. We've got the 40 meter off-center fed dipole, which covers 40, 20, 10, and 6. And we've got the 80 meter off-center fed dipole from MFJ that covers 80 through 40. What are we going to use for audio?
Man, we've got this great Heil ICM microphone. Got the push to talk button on it. Great mic. You're going to sound awesome on the new rig with that mic. Yeah,
it was made especially for Icom radios.
Yeah.
And in case you want to upgrade, if you're not already a general or an extra, we've got Gordon West Radio School training materials from our buddy Gordo. And if you're a technician and you've got limited HF privileges, Gordo's going to fix you up with what?
You're going to get a general study guide.
A general study guide. And if you're a general,
you get an extra study guide.
Of course, we're going to need to wire all this stuff together, the antennas and the rig, and we've got some good cable for it. What is this?
We got some RG213 compliments of the Wireman.
Yeah, enhanced RG213. Good stuff, because we all like Wireman cable,
Man.
Except for Peter, and he doesn't know what it is really.
What's Wireman?
It's good stuff, really is. They're at most all of the Hamfest, and you can find their cable there. And then one final thing, Tommy. Are you ready?
Go for it.
They're in the plastic bags, but these are our private stock PL259 connectors. Silver plated with what appears to be gold plated tips. We're not sure,
Faux gold,
Cento gold.
The good stuff for you guys.
Yeah, only the best.
So how do you win all this stuff, George?
Well, that's a good question, Peter. And first, you've got to be a licensed U.S. amateur with a U.S. shipping address because, don't get started on that, huh, Tommy?
I'm glad you took that one.
And that's because we can only offer this contest to U.S. people this time because of the rules on using different type accepted equipment in different countries. maybe in the future we'll try to have an international contest. What's the next qualification there, Tommy?
Only one entry per contestant. Sending more than one entry will disqualify you from the contest.
And that's correct. And if there's any taxes associated with the winnings, you'll be responsible for paying those. But believe me, you'll come out ahead if you got all this gear. You won't mind paying the taxes.
Yeah, and the winner agrees to the use of his or her call sign and name in promotional and use items related to the contest.
Yep, and the contestants, unfortunately, disqualify us here. Anyone, U.S. amateur, can enter unless you're an employee or affiliate of AmateurLogic.TV, Icom America, MFJ Enterprises, Hall Sound, Gordon West Radio Schools, or the Wireman. Now, how do they enter, Tommy?
You can send an email to contest2012@AmateurLogic.TV with only your call sign in the subject line. Include your name, your call sign, class of license, and your address in the email message.
Okay, and you've got just a limited time left, a little under a month. On December the 8th, we're actually going to do the drawing, and the results will be in the December 15th episode, but we'll actually show the drawing during that episode. It takes us time to get this stuff edited and together. So you have from now until December 8th to get your name in the hat and send that email in. And how are we going to select who actually wins?
Well, the contest winner will be selected by a random number of the entry received. The winner will be announced on the 15th episode, as you just said, of AmateurLogic.TV.
Okay. And if for some reason we determine the first person who's drawn is not qualified for the contest, then we'll just do the same random type drawing again to determine who the winner will be. And where can they learn more about this on the web, Tommy?
All of the rules and information are posted at AmateurLogic.TV/contest.
Okay. That's a nice package there.
Yeah, this is great, man.
Actually, George, Tommy, I can't think of a competition being offered with that array of gear all in one package. I've certainly seen rigs offered in competitions and various other items, but that's the first time I've actually seen a complete ham station offered in a competition, and somebody is going to be very, very lucky.
And you're right, Peter. And, we're fortunate now that we've been doing this for years, and we've met some nice people along the way. Ray from Icom, Bob from Hall Sound, Gordo from Gordon West Radio Schools, Martin Jew from MFJ Enterprises, along with most of the people who work over there. And we've run across the Wireman at the Ham Fest. And, of course, I met Tommy, fighting for a set of PL259s at the Ham
if
Fest.
it wasn't for the Wireman, I'd have buckets full of these things with no place to put them.
I know you would. So thanks, everyone, all the manufacturers, for participating in this contest. We really look forward to awarding this next month. Tommy, what's on your email stack over there next?
And I have got an email here about a topic that came up a little while back. This is from Sean, N7RRB. Says he was watching the last two episodes and wanted to point out another Linux application. This goes back to when we were talking about Linux ham radio deluxe equivalents. He says CQR log is probably the closest thing to ham radio deluxe for Linux. He believes it gets overlooked as just a logging program, but it has the ability to do rig and rotor control, among many other things. He doesn't have a rig that can take advantage of the capability yet, but you can use the DX cluster window and click on it. It has the ability to change your frequency and align your rotor and everything. It sounds pretty nice. He gave us a link, www.cqrlog.com, and I have not had a chance to check that one out yet, but it sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
And I will be checking it.
He said it also is reportedly will interface directly with FL Digi, but he hasn't tried that.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I had a question.
Sorry, just quickly, would it run on a Raspberry Pi, I wonder?
It'd probably have to be recompiled from that, but don't know the answer on that, Peter, but maybe we can do a little research, or someone will send us the answer on that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've got a email here from, I don't know if it's Dane or Danny. It's Danne, KC70. And he says, and this is referring to some of the surface mount projects you've seen me do on AmateurLogic and the soft rock that I'm working on right now on Ham Nation. He says, I see you're using a hobby tool to reflow the solder on there. Would a high power heat gun work for that? And I don't think I would use a high power heat gun. The reasons are that the temperature coming out of that little hot air embossing tool is really hot, but the airflow is a little bit less. And so I'm afraid if you had a high powered heat gun and you stick it down there, you're just going to blow parts everywhere. So Ooh. Yeah, I don't think I would go that route with it. Peter, what's next on your stack there?
I've got an email here from Jeff, N9 India Zulu. And curiously enough, it's again touching on CQR log. This is, I think, in response to a query regarding viewers wishing for Linux software that is similar to HRD. And he said that, look, there's none that are as polished as HRD, but he has some previous experience with CQR log. And again, the website's at www.cqrlog.com. Jeff uses it with FLDigi to cover his needs. It's free and it's got its own forum. So that's certainly one that I'll be checking out.
So, yeah, he answered the question there, although who was it? Sean had not tried that, but here Jeff has tried it.
There's confirmation right there. Yeah. It's probably a really nice program. It sounds like it.
Yeah, I went and looked at some of the screenshots on it. It does look pretty nice. There again, not as polished as Ham Radio Deluxe, but a good alternative. Well, Tommy, what have you been building on lately over there at the Z&O Studios?
Well, man, I dug out something that I mentioned a while back. I bought an Arduino, and I thought I'd give it a spin and show some capabilities of it. Hi. With all the buzz about the Raspberry Pi, kind of made me forget about a little device I got to play around with a while back. I mentioned it to you on a few shows prior. But anyway, I bought an Arduino experimenter board. Pretty nice little board. You can, it has 14 digital inputs and outputs. Can be configured in either way. It's got 6 analog inputs or outputs. Like unlimited number of add-on, they call them shields, but they're basically daughter boards that snap onto the top of this thing. We'll give it network capability, wireless. There's a breadboard one. If you remember, like probably 5 years ago on the show, I put together my little basic stamp on the show. We soldered all the components on the board and everything, and George and I did a little repeater controller type, or idea actually, type project on the show. It's a lot of fun. Showed the capabilities of the basic stamp. And I'm going to do similar to this one. There are several models of the Arduino available. This one is the Uno, which was available at my local Radio Shack. And you can see they're pretty inexpensive. It was only $35. And they had several of these. I was going to get the Mega, which has more inputs and outputs and so forth on it. No one around here had them in stock, so I went ahead and got the one that was available. But there are quite a few models. Check out the Arduino.cc site for more information on what's available for it. Let's take a little closer look. Here's some of the shields I was telling you about. A Wi-Fi shield, Ethernet shield. You can actually create a little web server on this thing and control things over the internet from your cell phone or a computer or whatever. One for an SD card, stepper motors, just unbelievable the amount of things that are available for it, the amount of support. I've found quite a few ham libraries out there, some which we'll play with here in an upcoming episode. This is the board I have here, the Arduino Uno, and you can see there your 14 digital IOs, 0 through 13, and there's your ground. You've got 6 analogs, A0 through A5. Here's your power, a ground, and so forth. Reset button up here at the top left. It'll run off of 5 to 12 volts, I believe. I'll have to look it back up, but I went ahead and I made this little 9-volt adapter that I can plug onto it. Probably one of the nicest selling points for this thing is the ease of programming it. If you've done any programming at all, then this thing, you'll pick up the programming language, and with the examples that they've got, you'll be productive pretty much right off the bat. You can go over here and download the programming language here at Arduino.cc. Pick the one for your operating system, and the Mac one, all I had to do was drag it into my applications folder and run it. So let's start it up. If you've done any programming at all, it's going to look very familiar. It's based off of C. The files have the extension of CPP for C++, but they're just basically straight C. Whenever you get a new programming language, every programmer starts out writing a hello world. It may do nothing but print hello world on the screen. You may click a button and a hello world message box pops up or something, but everybody at one point makes a hello world. Well, this is my hello world for Arduino program, which is the equivalent of my message box. It's going to be a blinking LED. So I soldered this little resistor onto a LED, and I'm going to plug it into my Arduino board to pin 13 and to the ground. And I'm going to use my little program, and we're going to make the LED flash. This is just to show you that the thing works, how to program it and everything. I've got 3 projects, somewhat involved projects that I'll be building in the next upcoming few episodes that will show off the capabilities of this a little bit better. I'll be building a fox hunt beacon, and then I got a kit from Dayton, courtesy of our friends at MFJ, a transmitter kit, or actually it's a transceiver kit. We'll be building the kit and interfacing it with the Arduino to create a beacon. And then I've got some stuff I'm going to do with controlling my rig with it coming up in the very near future using cat commands. So let's take a look at the environment here. It looks just like C. It comes with a ton of good examples. If you click on the file menu, go down to examples, you've got basics, which is how to read serial port, serial data, blinking LED, which is the basics of what I use to create my little idea that I'm going to make here in just a moment. Well, let's close this up and go look at the application that I wrote, and I'll kind of explain how it works. You can see the syntax is somewhat easy. We're going to declare a variable, which is an integer. We're going to give it a name of pin, and we're going to give it 13. If you remember, I said I plugged my LED into pin 13 and into ground, so we're going to address that pin on the Arduino. I defined a pause amount, which is 500 milliseconds, half of a second. By default, there's a setup function that automatically runs when the first thing is initialized. It defines how the board is supposed to act. It only runs one time at the initialization, when the power is applied to it or when you hit the reset button. So we're going to define pin mode, pin 13, remember? And it's going to be an output. Output is a constant, which is already defined in the language. If we were going to read something from it, we would define it as an input. The next thing we've got is a function here called loop, which is the main body of the program. This thing just sits here and it runs over and over and over as fast as it can at, I think, 16 megahertz from now until the end of time or the battery runs out, whichever comes first. So what this is doing is I define my call sign N5ZNO. I made a function for each letter. I probably went a little overboard with this, but that's kind of how I do anyway. So anyway, dash dot is in, and we're going to play a dash dot. If you go back down to the end function, you'll see dash actually calls another function, which turns on pin 13, puts it high. This was going to be for a tone. We're not going to do that for this. Anyway, had a little speaker I was going to beep with it. We're going to do a digital write to the digital port 13, remember, which was defined up here, and we're going to raise it high. We're going to wait 1,000 milliseconds, which is 1 second, and then we're going to turn it off, and then we're going to wait the amount of pause, which is a half a second. So it's going to come on for 1/10 of a second. I'm sorry, 1 second, and then it's going to go off, stay off for a half a second, and then it'll play the next character in 5. Go down here and you'll see 5, and it does the same thing. Dot, 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 dot. 5 dots. So it'll play turn pin 13 high for 100 milliseconds because we want those short, right? And then it turns it off and it waits the same half a second. So I have the same half second pause in between characters. So, and it does the whole thing for my call sign. Waits 10 seconds, and then it does the thing all over again. If I wanted it to wait 30 seconds, I could change it to 30,000. 1,000 milliseconds is a second, so just do the math, and you can make it however you want. I'll leave it 10 just for the purpose of displaying here. Save our work, and the nicest thing is you just plug the Arduino up, and the power light comes on. To make it run, all we need to do is click upload, which is the little right arrow. It'll compile. You can see the bottom, the compiling sketch, binary sketch sizes, 1,250 bytes, and there's 32K on my board. So I've only used that much of the memory on my board. And my application's running. And you can see my LED is blinking along with it. It's really easy. I know that is ultra simplistic. Look through this section, the examples here. The communication ones are really nice. The display ones. I want to get one of the LED displays for mine, and I'll be getting a Ethernet shield in the very near future. I realize this is pretty simplistic. A lot of you guys are already using the Arduino and doing some more advanced things with it. But there's a lot of guys out there that watch the show that want to get started with it as well. So I thought we'd start off and look at the programming language and show how easy it is. This is an open source board I failed to mention at the beginning. What that means is the plans for it are all out there. You can actually get the schematic, burn the board yourself, order the parts, put it all together, do every bit of it from scratch yourself. It's all out there available. Parts are easy to get. You can get kits to build it yourself if you want to buy the kit and not have to chase the parts down. It doesn't get much better than that for a hobbyist experimenter type board. And there's a lot of practical uses for it. Anyway, check out Arduino.cc. And there's a lot of resources out there. Read up on it, and go down to your local Radio Shack or order one and play around with it.
Yeah, the Arduino, Tommy, is one of a number of small boards that are useful for prototyping and for basically hacking. I've actually, as we know, there's the Raspberry Pi, but I've actually come across one called the MK802. Which people may wish to have a look at. A little bit more powerful than a Raspberry Pi and maybe better for some high-end stuff. But the Arduino, it's got very popular, and there are forums around it, and people are doing a lot of things with it.
Yeah, that thing has really come on strong here in the last 2 or 3 years. And, we were big basic stamp enthusiasts, which was an earlier microcontroller that's still out there and still quite popular, I think, in schools.
Oh, yeah.
But
and I've got a couple of pickaxes sitting out the back, so they're very similar as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I did a project here with my basic stamp just recently, Tommy. Look what happens when I push this button here. There you are. Now I push it again, and jerkily I come back into focus. Yeah. So I've been playing with it, but after seeing that Arduino, I've got a bunch of the basic stamps that I've been wanting to do something with for a long time, but I'm going to have to get an Arduino. I mean, I've got plenty of digital IOs on the basic stamp, but I don't have those analogs like you do on the Arduino.
Yeah, the analogs are pretty handy.
They are. So that's something I'm looking forward to. Well, I've got another email here, and this one is from Bob WA8YCD, and he said, "This is a very handy tool. I remember seeing one of these once back in my novice days."
Did you find the cycles per second to hertz conversion chart helpful?
Oh, indeed, there, Tommy. We over here, like you, have struggled with going from feet over to meters, and this chart is also rather useful.
Yeah, I suppose you could do it the hard way with a calculator, but this just makes it so much quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's next on your stack, Tommy?
I've got one more email. I've got one from Jason, KE7VZW. And this goes back about the FL rig question. He says he wrote the author of FL rig to inquire whether it will continue to make it a priority if its current situation. Anyway, he shared with him our site, and he says that the author plans to push far and wide with FL rig. This is goes back about whether it would work on the Raspberry Pi. He actually pasted the reply from the author. It says FL rig remains a high priority development item. Besides being open source, it's also only cross-platform transceiver control program. You can run on Linux, Windows, all flavors of Windows, OS X, and several versions of Linux. So anyway, hopefully it'll run on Raspberry Pi sometime soon.
Yeah, hopefully so. I want to say I saw where some people were trying to compile it. I'm not sure where they have got with that yet, but interesting stuff. Well, a month or so back, I went to that MFJ 40th anniversary celebration. And I took my camera with me. We really haven't looked at much of that yet, but here's my tour of the MFJ Metal Shop. Well, it's a little bit noisier in here. What is this place we're at now?
Okay, this is the metal shop where we make all of our electronic cabinets. Right now it is punching, it looks like 12 cabinets. Now watch, the sheet goes under the punches, and the punch press punches all the holes of the same size, and then when it finished punches all the holes of the same size, the turret will rotate to the next size hole and punches all of those holes of the same size, and it continues to do that until all holes are punched, and then the punch will cut apart each one of the cabinets, and then when it's held on by a thin sliver of metal, now all he has to do is pick it up and just shake it, and those are complete cabinets that's completely built up.
Oh, that's amazing. That's a lot faster than, say, getting out there with a drill and a file.
All the holes are within 1/10,000th of an inch.
So what is this right here we're looking at?
It's a transceiver safety switch that makes sure that your transceiver is always loaded and not transmitting into an open circuit. Now this is a complete box that's already been silk screened, and the next step here is to fold these 4 sides, and it becomes a complete cabinet, which she's going to show us now. First, you can see the box is being folded in both sides, and once she gets through doing that, it becomes a complete box. But notice that she only picks it up one time, and she pushes it, and the machine sets itself up, and it gets ready to fold all the complete box handling at one time. The old method, and we have one of the older machines, you can only make one bend at one time, and then you pick up another one and make it the same bend. You pick up another one and make the same bend, then you have to reset the machine up every time you want to make the same bend. This computer control machine will allow you to make all of the bends by picking it up only one time like she's doing it. Now what we do is we we used to paint the boxes ourselves, but now we buy the metal that is pre-painted, and we've worked with the manufacturer of the metal to produce a paint where when we bend it, the edges do not crack. Okay, these are the SWR analyzers, the antenna analyzers, and you'll notice that we don't use sheet metal screws. What we use is a pressed-in nut, and what he's doing here in this operation, if you can see it over here, we have these little nuts that he actually presses into the metal box, and when we're finished, it's a little hard to see, but if you look right here on the side, these are the pressed in nuts right here, and these things will use machine screws, so you can take the cabinet on and off as many times as you want and not have to worry about stripping out the metal, because this is an actual nut.
Yeah, so much better than sheet metal screws, because a sheet metal screw and aluminum, you can only run that in and out 3 or 4 times and it's history.
Yeah, that's right. This one you can do it for as long as you need it. What we're looking at here is a series of cleaning tanks that when we do have to paint an aluminum box, it will clean the box and etch microscopic pores into the surface of the aluminum so the paint can stick to it a lot better. It gives you a much better paint job.
I see, yeah, so it actually makes it a little porous so the paint will stay on there.
That's right. It increases the surface area tremendously and just gives you a lot of surface area for the paint to stay on.
Well, I had often wondered how you kept the paint on those boxes, because I can never get anything to stick when I use spray paint.
Very hard thing to do.
Are these chiclets, or what is this in here?
Well, this is a kind of a rock that's used to smooth the edges of metal parts. One of the big things we use this machine for is the plates of variable capacitors that have high voltage on it. If there's any sharp edges on it, it will just arc there. So what we have to do is take those edges off, and this machine has got these smoothing rocks in it, and you put the capacitor plates in there, and the whole thing just shakes in a real violent manner, and it smooths out all the edges and just takes care of any arcing problems.
Well, that's great, because I had never thought about that, how you get the edges off of there, because surely using a file or sandpaper would take forever.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I see one right here. Here is one of the plates that's in the capacitor. I don't think this one has actually gone into the machine yet, but one side of it is still very smooth, and the other side has got a burr because of the punching process, and this process here just smooths it all out. But that's a plate, the stator plate of a capacitor that we manufacture here. This is how we silk screen the labels onto the cabinets, and it's basically like doing t-shirts. Now she's got a cabinet that she's going to silk screen labels on it. You can notice that she starts off with a plain cabinet, and she's silk screening that on the front and the back side of it. You can see that this is a complete cabinet, but she silk screened the front of it and the back of it at the same time, and by doing it that way, we only have to silk screen it once. I mean, what we do next is to bend it here, so you can see it takes the form of a box and bend the side of it. Now, in the early days, what we did was to form the box first, you silk screen the front, and then you turn it around, and then you silk screen the back. The way we do it now to save time and labor is to leave it flat, silk screen it once, so you get the front and the back silk screen, and then we bend it. It just reduces the cost.
Boy, and that is so fast too. It looks like just swoosh, swoosh, and she's got one done.
Yeah. If you look through there is a very tightly stretched cloth, and you can see this thing is coated with, we make all these screens here. We assemble the metal, the wooden pieces. We stretch this cloth over it, and then we tighten it by putting a piece of rope there and hammering it down, and it stretches it. And then what we do is to take a material that is sensitive to ultraviolet light and coat the whole thing on it, and then we put a film positive over it, expose it to ultraviolet light. Ultraviolet light will harden that material except where the light is blocked by the letters. And then we take a very high pressure stream of water and spray it and clear out all these open areas where the letters are. And it leaves a screen like this. So when we place it down, put ink over the ink, when you push it through, goes through those holes and makes the letters like that.
So it's called a silk screen. Is there actually any silk here, or is that a name that came from somewhere else?
Well, the original material, cloth type, was silk. Now, all this stuff is a synthetic monofilament material. And there's also some screens that's also made of stainless steel, which we used to use, but this material gives you a much better print.
I kind of thought that's how this has worked, but I've never really seen it up close or had it explained like that before. So that's great.
Well, you know, during basketball season and baseball season, we go out and buy some T-shirts and make our own T-shirts.
I guess you could, yeah.
These modes right here, this is a mode for the automatic antenna tuners, and you can see these the MFJ letters on there. They're stamped out pieces of aluminum that we mode, but the loop modes, the antenna tuner modes, and here's some finished products right here. And we're going to show you the process for doing that. There's a sheet of plastic right now that's clamped into this frame.
I can feel the heat, too.
And the heat is right here. Okay? The heater is. And then you can see the mode right under that. Now, when the temperature of that sheet gets to the right temperature, and they're experts at judging it when it needs to be, then all of a sudden this mode would be pushed up into it and start to take that form. And there are some high vacuum pumps down there that all of a sudden just draws all that air out and forms that cabinet.
Oh, when I was a kid, we had a toy that was called a vacuum form. And so this is a vacuum form on steroids, I guess.
That's exactly it. Same thing, except it's just bigger.
I see that plastic is already sagged, and there come the molds. That was quick.
Yeah, it was quick. It doesn't take much time at all. Now you can see the fan cooling it off to a point where they can just remove it from the mold without it sticking to the mold. That mold just came out from under, and now all he has to do is to remove the plastic sheet.
And just trim it, and I guess punch a couple of holes, and it's ready to go, huh?
That's it.
Yeah, that was really interesting, Tommy, the way that it all started out with a piece of aluminum. It was pre-painted, but they just took that sheet of aluminum, punched all these chassis out of there, silk screened them, folded them all in the different machines, put the compression nuts in there, and the whole thing right there in that one plant. As a matter of fact, that tuner sitting right over there was made just like they were showing there. So.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing stuff. A lot of ingenuity goes into just putting the boxes together, you know, regardless of what's inside of it.
Yeah, none of them I ever built look anywhere near as good.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll have some more stuff from that MFJ visit that I made in some of the future episodes here. Peter, what else have you got from down under?
Well, my final post, or whatever you want to call it, is actually a post that I put on Facebook myself, on our Facebook site. And I was just querying about polarization. Now, I played around with satellite TV a bit, and you can see that by using different polarizations, horizontal and vertical, you can actually cram more channels in to a given space. Now, I was interested in the idea of polarization on HF, and whether anybody had played around with that. We got a number of replies back, and one of the interesting outcomes of all of that I discovered after sort of following up a few links was the fact that the use of cross-polarization on HF can actually help counteract deep fades. So that's something people might want to check out.
Yeah, as far as and I'll play devil's advocate here. As far as, taking horizontal and polarized and vertical HF antennas and trying to transmit a signal, each of them separately, I don't think that'll work because there's just, the polarization will change so many times throughout the trip from the HF signal there through the ionosphere and all that. At those wavelengths, I don't think that would be feasible. But what you said there is that will help with fading. That is a very good point there. I would see that as being useful. Not exactly the same thing as diversity antennas, but similar, I guess. So interesting concept there, Peter. I wish it would work, and it will, like you say, at satellite frequencies, somewhat less at UHF and VHF, and probably not at all on HF.
Let's take a trip down south and let's talk to our friend budget-minded Emile.
Hello.
Hi, Emile. What's been going on?
Well, I've been doing a lot of travel with my work lately. Haven't spent all that much time in the shack, but I have been getting to use a lot of my the items I learned from Tommy, I believe, doing the same with operating from hotel rooms. So not in the shack, but you make it work when you have to, right?
Yep, take your shack with you.
So what have you got for us this month?
Well, this month I have a segment on the WWV radio station to broadcast time and standards signals out for people to use. And for ham radio operators, figured out with my rig functions how to use that to synchronize or calibrate its receive using the signals that WWV transmits. So I thought that would be pretty interesting to put a segment together with it. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Cheap Old Man Minutes. In this episode, I wanted to talk about the radio station WWV, which has several practical uses for ham radio operators. WWV is in Fort Collins, Colorado, and broadcasts in AM time announcements, standard time intervals, standard frequencies, UT1 time corrections, BCD time code, geophysical alerts, and marine storm warnings. They operate on 2.5, 5, 10, 15, and 20 megahertz.
At the tone, 15 hours, 56 minutes, coordinated universal time.
Due to current atmospheric conditions, I've chosen a 20 megahertz signal source from WWV, and I'm going to demonstrate how it can be used to help calibrate the receiver. In my case, Icom has provided a calibration marker within the radio that can be used to synchronize the beat of the standard frequencies that they're sending out, which is a neat function. So I'll turn the calibration on and go to upper side band and tune down 1 megahertz. Instructions in the manual, by the way. And like any musician might do, you could actually tune using that beat or the difference between the two frequencies to actually tune it down to a 0 beat, and therefore aligning your receiver to a standard frequency being transmitted by WWV. Thanks for watching another episode of Cheap Old Man Minutes from KE5QKR.
That's very interesting, Emile. I have never played with a rig that had that function in there, but you kind of left me hanging. I feel like I didn't get the whole picture. What's missing here?
Well, during the segment, I did not want to tear apart my station that's out there, and there's a potentiometer, George, somewhat like the old television set tuning tools, where you stick the tuning tool in the back of the radio and adjust it. You can get it within maybe 3 or 2 hertz with just that. So it definitely fits the cheap old man minutes with the free signals being broadcast by that organization, instead of buying a very expensive frequency generator, and it can get expensive to do other things than that. But that works and it's very practical.
Oh, that's neat. Like I say, I've never seen a rig that had that before. So that's a new one on me. And wow, another cheap old man minute. And we learned something this time around. And that didn't cost you anything, did it?
It certainly didn't, which is why the cha-chings are in there.
That's perfect for the budget-minded ham.
Yep.
Is that the only rig that has that feature? That's the only one I've ever heard of.
Tommy, I think, I'm not sure if it's a standard on Icoms on that model or above, but that's the first rig I've seen it on. I don't know if it was a one-off or maybe they're including them in all of the rigs from that point forward. Not sure.
Yeah, that's a good feature.
All right, Emile, good to see you again. And you keep it cheap down there. Or are you having a cheap Thanksgiving, or are you actually springing for a turkey?
Oh, we're taking a non-cheap old man compliant trip to Florida. So
wow,
that's where all my budget's going.
Okay. All right, man. We'll see you next month.
73.
73, Emile.
Well, it's good to see somebody from another country there, George.
Yeah, Louisiana, almost like another country.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, I guess it used to be.
Yeah, at one point.
I'm very familiar with WWV from my shortwave exploits back when I was a teenager. I would often tune in on WWV on either 10 megahertz or 15 megahertz just to see how the band conditions were.
Yeah. Oh, I guess it would be good for that.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I think we had a segment about that way back in the beginning.
Jim may have done something on that.
Yep.
Okay, and I've got one final message here, and this is from Steve, W8WFO, from the Echo Link net that we have, Star, Dewdrop in Star. And he wanted to let everyone know that amateur radio newsline producer Bill Pasternak, WA6ITF, will be the featured guest this Saturday night, November 17th, on the Echo Link Newsline net. He says the net meets every Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Dewdrop In conference server, which is Echo Link node 355800. According to Steve, W8WFO, this is not the original name of that net, but rather it's become known as that because for such a long time, those signing on began calling it the Amateur Radio Newsline Net or the Newsline Net. So join Steve and Bill Pasternak and Dave and everyone on the Dewdrop In conference server if you're into Echolink, and talk with Bill Pasternak. That's this Saturday, November 17th. And we're just about out of time here, but we got a little housekeeping to do here, don't we, Tommy?
Yeah, we do. I wanted to take a couple seconds and tell everybody that the wiki is down that we've been posting the show notes on. And I'm working on getting another one back up in its place. But all that content's been saved, but it actually got hacked.
Yeah, well, I saw that. And just millions and millions line of useless text got posted.
Screen door advertisements and everything. Yeah. So anyway, it's temporarily down, and hopefully it'll be back up pretty quick. And we'll post something on Facebook and on Twitter, which I think leads into the other things that we were going to mention.
Yeah.
When it's back up.
Yeah. Join our Facebook group if you have not already. Go to Facebook, search for AmateurLogic. We've got a good group of people on there, and there's new postings every day on some interesting topics. And as you can tell, we post on there ourselves and, try to keep a little discussion going. But there's so many great people that give us so many good ideas, and we learn a lot from that. So do check it out, the AmateurLogic Facebook page. And where else can they follow us, Tommy?
We're on Twitter at AmateurLogic. And we've also got a Google Plus page, but it's not very active.
No, it's not as active on there. We'll post on it whenever we're going to release a new show. But that's pretty much it, because the Google Plus does not work the same way as Facebook, and
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it's a good service, but it's just not quite the same.
Yeah.
For,
So everyone, once again, a reminder, we're in the home stretch on the Icom, Heil Sound, MFJ, Gordon West Radio School, and Wireman contest here, and you certainly want to get your entry in if you have not already. Go to AmateurLogic.TV/contest to get all the details. But remember, only enter once, or you will be disqualified. And someone's going to have a nice Christmas present this year.
oh yeah, they sure are, man. It's loaded.
It's loaded.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to get that rig out here and play with it a little bit within the next 2 or 3 weeks, or we're not going to have a chance.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for being here, everyone. And remember, tell all your friends about Amateur Logic, AmateurLogic.TV website, or on YouTube, or also on Roku. And we're getting a lot of views on Roku now, so we're mighty happy to have that going.
We've got over 1,000 subscribers on the Roku channel alone, which is pretty incredible.
Well, in such a short period of time.
Yeah, I didn't realize there were that many.
Yeah. So that's it for episode 47. Yes.
47.
47.
Hey, we're not far away from 50.
We're getting close. I was just thinking that earlier today.
Yeah, we may need a celebration.
Yeah, I still have half a bottle of wine left over there.
We hadn't had one celebration since last month.
Yeah. We had 2 then.
We should hit it about March or April.
March or April. Yeah, you're probably right. Unless we have some extra episodes in there.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for joining us, everyone. We will see you again on the December 15th episode, when we're going to give away this prize package. And as much as we'd like to keep it, we got to give it away. So 7-3.
Yep. Don't forget to send your entry in, 73.
73's from down under.
And if you're a general,
You're going to get an advanced study guide. You're not going to get an advanced study guide unless he's trying to clean out the closet.